When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Good morning to you out there in internet land. How are we all? I hope you're okay. I'm actually recording this at a lovely time for once. My guest is actually in Europe. I don't know why all my shows have been based around the doings and the actions of people in America. And we do. We love the Americans. You're all great. But for God's sake, sort your time zone out, because it's been very late nights, very early mornings. And today I've got up, I've had a bowl of cornflakes, I've wandered to my office, and I'm ready to rock. So I'm feeling good on today's one. And why shouldn't I feel good? Because it is episode 42. It's the 9th of June, and I've got a lady that I've wanted on the show since the very first thought of actually doing this show. She's a lady that I first connected with on LinkedIn, as I simply loved the message she was putting out into the world. She's a campaigner against, I suppose, corporate contentment, where so many of us work in jobs that don't fulfill us simply due to our belief that it's the safest route to take in life. The paycheck is the most important thing. But our guest today believes otherwise. In 2011, she couldn't suppress this desire anymore to find her authentic self, and she left a 12-year career in a Fortune 100 company to go it alone. And quite simply, it appears to me that she hasn't looked back, although that is exactly what I'm going to be asking her to do today. Now, with her company Prolific Living, she's a professional blogger, author, speaker, business coach, and an expert green juicer. I don't know what that last one is, I'll be honest with you, but I'm going to ask her about that. She's passionate about showing her readers and clients how to define their own freedom in their health and their careers. So how can we learn from her? How can we find the methods, skills, and passion to create a future that is all our own and delights us on a daily basis? Well, there's no better time than today. So let me introduce to you the lovely, inspiring, and of course conversational Farnoosh Brock. How are you today, Farnoosh?
I'm very well, thank you, David, and thank you so much for that warm and witty introduction. I really enjoyed it.
Well, you have made me feel good today. As I say, I have got out of bed, I've had a shower, and I feel I may not look good, and that's why I've turned the webcam off. I'm doing everything on audio. I won't tell you what I'm wearing at the moment.
Good.
Would you like to know what I'm wearing?
Not really.
No, don't go there. Don't go there. It's too early for that kind of thought. So your life, as I was saying, your life is, there's many areas I'm going to touch on. Your childhood's very interesting to me, because you weren't born in a country that I'm aware of very well. You're Persian. You come from Iran. So that's kind of fascinating. Yes. In its own areas. But it almost seems to be like three key areas. You've got your childhood in Iran. Then you're in America, going through what I would say is quite a conventional career choice that most of us actually do. And then the last bit is really finding yourself and blossoming and finding your authentic self. Would that be true?
Yes, that's very true. Yes, you have segmented my life very well.
It's as easy as that, isn't it? It's as easy as that. Yes. For three key areas. So when you go back to Iran, I don't know much about Iran other than what I've seen on the telly. And it seems to me sort of groups of religious areas in conflict and all that kind of stuff. Is that true? When you was out there as a child, was you aware of the goings on? Or was it just life and you didn't sort of perceive as we would perceive it by watching the news?
Right. Well, I wasn't prepared to talk about Iran because I always get a little emotional, but I'm happy to. So I was born and raised in Tehran, Iran. Iran, I only say that because people say it like that, but it's really Iran. And as you know, it's a country in the Middle East known mostly for terrorism and other terrible deeds, but there is a lot more to it. I was very young when the Iranian Revolution happened. And yes, of course, I was a child, but I also lived during the war between Iran and Iraq. So it was a very hard time for my family and for us going through that period. Seriously horrible stuff like bombings and shortage of food and stuff like that. So I remember some of it, but I also have very happy memories. And then we moved to Turkey and then on to America.
So do you, I'm not going to touch on that because, as you say, it makes you emotional. But do you think the Farnoosh Brock that I'm talking to now is sort of clearly defined by those sort of childhood memories.
Absolutely. Yes.
Has that
in
given
a good
you
way.
that's given you a sort of strength and a
Yes.
challenging mind to sort of overcome obstacles, has it?
Yes, it has. It has really formed me into the woman I am. And at the beginning, it was all about determination to make it and succeed in life, because that was the opportunities that are robbed from you as a citizen of Iran. You don't have those kinds of freedom and opportunities to pursue, especially as a woman. So I was very determined to make it in America, especially. It was my dream to live in America, a dream that has come true. And I'm very happy about that. But over time, I realized that I was also giving up a different kind of freedom as I was becoming a slave to my job and my routine and things that weren't really the direction I wanted to take my life. So I had to make the next shift in my career. But it has absolutely defined me. And I think every childhood defines every one of us to some extent, right? So we may either be aware of it or not, but I don't think it changes the fact that how you grow up and what influences you, the people, the surroundings, the environment, that certainly has an effect on you. And I think that it's an extremely positive one. I wouldn't change anything.
Well, I don't think you should change anything. And one of the things that's been coming out show after show after show is people's pursuit of their authentic self. The moment when they actually realise why they're on this planet and what they should be doing. And most people, and I'm exactly the same, almost looks back to the childhood and kind of goes, I actually knew what I should have been doing when I was a 5 and a 10-year-old, but I kind of got lost in the mix somewhere of going into a career and going into university and following a path which is kind of expected of me. So I think, it's called join up dots, and the dots go back to a very early stage. Would you, can you look back on your 5-year-old self and go, actually, there was elements of me then that I'm still using on a daily basis?
That's a very interesting question, because I was not one of those children that knew what she was going to be when she grew up. I just knew I was going to be successful because that was such an important, that was so important to my family, that the children grow up to be successful and financially stable. That's very important in the Iranian culture, as I'm sure it is in all cultures. And education was very important. So I focused more on, I'm going to get really good grades and be a good student and learn a lot. But I didn't have this vision of what I wanted to be. However, I look back and I know that I was in love with painting and drawing and writing, even as early at that age. And that is essentially the foundation of my business, writing. I write books for a living. I write my blog. I write my programs. I do a lot of creative things in my business that I never did in corporate, and I am really embracing that creative side, and I think that's something all of us have, and I do see that part of me coming back into a professional sense right now.
Because if you go back to my sort of school reports, right to the early age, it was always, David spends too much time talking. David is more interested in the points of view of other people. And now I'm kind of doing this, and I think, well, that's absolutely right. That is, they were so far beyond the curve to see what I should be doing. I couldn't see that, but no, my reports actually indicate. They should have written podcaster just over it if it was a job at that time.
Right. Exactly. Right. No, there's definitely a part of us that we carry through, and I think the creativity and loving to write and create, that's definitely something I can see today. And I abandoned it for a long time. So now it's even more special to recognize it and to turn it into a living, which is very exciting.
Well, it is exciting, isn't it? That you're doing something that is kind of a hybrid between a hobby and an income-producing content line, isn't it?
Right. I wouldn't even call it a hobby anymore. It's just passion. It's complete passions, things I'm very interested in. And it started out as a hobby. You're right. Blogging for me started out as a hobby, but it's definitely a passion, everything that I do. And I do a variety of things because I'm so interested in so many different areas. But yes, it's wonderful to be able to make that create a living for us, right? Like right now we are traveling in Europe with my husband, whom I hired to work with us on our business. And we are able to do this, something that we would never have been able to do when we had jobs and bosses and all those headaches.
So you're your husband's boss?
Well, I like to think I'm his boss, but I don't think he thinks of it that way at all. So we are partners. That's what we say now. We are partners.
Because I actually met my wife 30 years ago when I was up in the city of London, and she swears blind that she was my manager, and I have no memory of this in any shape or form. But she will tell everyone, she will tell children, adults, dogs, cats, whoever happens to be listening at that time, that she was my manager. And I don't know where she gets that from, because I don't think she was, Farnoosh.
Well, I would have to ask her opinion, because there's two sides to every story, but noted.
If it's after 10 o'clock in the morning, she'll be drunk.
Oh, good.
She won't have a clue what you're saying. So talking about drinking, actually, because it's an interesting... Yes. You've just travelled through Europe. Oh, well, you're travelling through Europe at the moment, and you've spent a lot of time in the United Kingdom. And so many people who I talk to from America... When we're off air, they always say, I came over to the United Kingdom. God, you English people drink a lot. Were you aware that the bars and the pubs here were kind of always full, whether it was at lunchtime or in the evening?
Yes. Unfortunately, I do not really drink alcohol at all. And drinking it's not just in Europe. People drink too much alcohol in America too. So it's all over the world. And I think it's unfortunate because there's so many other things we could be doing with our time, with our money, and with our brains.
It dims your effectiveness, doesn't it? I used to work up in the city of London, and it was a kind of drinking culture. You kind of went up there just to prepare for lunchtime and then the evenings and stuff. And now I only have to have 2 pints and I just can't function. I don't know if it's the age or what, but
right.
It's certainly, I've almost got to the point now that I don't drink at all.
That's wonderful. Yeah, not a drop of alcohol here either. So saves us a lot of money. And it also makes you feel good in the morning when, you have a lot of work to do and you want to be productive. But I think it's very cultural, and it is part of the American culture too. So it's a choice. It's a personal choice. And you give up something and you gain something. So I don't see the gains. So I don't partake.
Well, I salute you for that. And I salute you that I think that you drink a lot of green juice, which I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, yes. And we've had a hard time finding it, although I did locate some great juice bars and smoothie bars in London, if you're ever interested. But they are fewer than the bars, of course, unfortunately. But green juice and green smoothies, which is actually two of my recent books, is basically consuming a lot of fruits, vegetables, and herbs in a drink form. That is it in its simplest. And the reason you would want to do that is, first of all, you don't get all of your nutrition. There is just no way every single day you would get that in a regular diet, American diet, European diet, whatever it may be. And we really need that. And it helps you stay full of energy. It gives you hydration. It curbs your appetite for junk food. It helps you with weight loss. It keeps you young. It has so many benefits. And it is such an easy way to get all of your nutrition than sitting there and chewing 3 bowls of salad. So I started doing this many years ago, 2006-07 timeframe, and I started getting really into it because I was seeing these amazing benefits from such a natural diet. And it was fun because I don't like cooking very much, but I love the idea of juicing vegetables or blending them up. And one thing led to another, David, and then I started blogging about it and talking about it. And then I published my first book on juicing, which really took off on the Amazon Kindle store and sold thousands of copies. And then a traditional publisher found us, and they wanted us to work with them on a new book, which was a great opportunity. And since then, we have written 2 books for them, and they have sold thousands of copies and reached a lot of people with this message, which I'm very excited about. So do you have a better idea now what a green juice is, or did I kind of dodge that question?
No, you didn't dodge it at all. I'll be honest with you, Farnoosh. It kind of sounds disgusting.
You would be so surprised.
Would I?
So
the fact
surprised.
that it's green, first of all, I can't think of any drink that I drink that is green.
Yes, and this is because your mind has no positive association with the color green. Think about it. What color is tea or coffee or beer? It's not a very pleasant color,
No, it's
but
not.
your mind has a positive association with what that tastes like and how it makes you feel. And so you have to create a association. So if you don't have a positive association, you immediately think grass. And you would be surprised how delicious it is if you make it right. So yeah, I would not let that dissuade, although that is something that deters people at first. But think about creating a positive association, and you would be hooked. It's delicious.
It's funny you say that, though, because, if it was yellow, I think I'd drink it. If it was blue,
Interesting.
I don't think I would drink it. I think blue and
Yeah.
greens are a colour... Because I remember they used to make blue Smarties. I don't know what they call Smarties in America.
Right. So you have some association. I mean, that's all it is, and you have to create a new experience, David. And now I will definitely give you the name of some great smoothie bars in London, and you can order anything from the menu. Now, if you're doing smoothies, they may be a number of different colors. They may be purple, blue, not blue, blue only if you put spirulina. And it's actually a very pretty color, blue. Could make it yellow if you do mango, bananas, papaya, orange. So smoothies come out in lots of different colors, even juices. If you do beet juice, it comes out a dark red. If you do carrot juice, it's orange. So green is only when you use your dark leafy vegetables and some other vegetables. But I think that, again, create a new experience. I encourage it. You'll be surprised, and you'll see what you've been missing out on.
I'm going to do it today. I'm going to go and find every green thing I can and blend like a
Okay, well,
madman.
don't do that. No. I actually don't recommend doing that, because I think that when you're starting out, it's important to follow a known recipe and start out simple, because if you combine different things and they don't come out right, then you're creating a poor experience. So this is a good time to actually mention my book, The Healthy Smoothie Bible, Producer's Bible, which I have a lot of recipes, or you can just Google some recipes or go to prolificjuicing.com. I have a lot of recipes, but I don't recommend as a total beginner that you go out and you just experiment, because if it doesn't come out right, then you would just be turned off, and then we have to start all over again with you. So don't do that. Go with the recipe.
I won't do it. I'm putting my daughter's model of Shrek down at the moment.
Okay, good.
But you should change your name to Farnoosh Broccoli, shouldn't you? That would be brilliant. If you change
Absolutely
that.
not.
No?
My in-laws would not appreciate that.
I thought that was a branding that was made in heaven for that. So you're talking about green juicing, and what comes out of you is passion, absolute passion. The thing that I'm interested in on all these shows is that moment of leap of faith. You're in your career, and you've gone through quite a upheaval in your personal life, coming from one country to another country. Was there a leap of faith when you decided to leave your corporate job, the Fortune 100 company? Was it an instant thought that I've got to do this, or did it just sort of creep up on you until you couldn't resist it anymore?
Well, and I've thought about this a lot, because I get asked about this question a lot, and I teach people how to make these exits. I teach them how to make smart decisions, how to think about their plans, etc. In my case, my husband and I were both working, very, very comfortable, cushy jobs at the same company, actually. And I had grown more and more miserable as each year went by. And it's funny, because my career was becoming more successful. I had a great boss. I had great flexibility, great travel, great perks, benefits, stock options, you name it. It was great. And I made a lot of money, and I didn't work all that hard. So it was a great situation, but I was growing so miserable and unfulfilled on the inside, and I had no idea what I would do. The only thought I had is I would go and get another job at another company. So I started interviewing other companies. But I stumbled upon blogging. So this is a few years before my exit, and I suddenly became hooked. It was just a hobby, but it started to take on a different level of seriousness beyond a hobby. And I started to discover more things about myself. So this is all the evolution that was happening, leading to answering your question, not to worry. And so I was getting more attracted with this blogging, writing for other websites, this community of online people who are doing things that seem to me meaningful and fulfilling and fun and exciting. And again, I had no idea how I would do anything with that. But at the same time, I was growing more and more tired of my job. And it came to a point where they put me on a project I did not want to do. I actually had some moral conflict with the project. And a year or two before, I would have just done it and not thought twice about it. But I was getting to know myself better, like I said. So I decided I'm just going to challenge my senior director and ask to do something else, because that was not the best use of my time at the company. And that was just my logical, train of thought. But they decided, no, I had to do that project. And that's when I realized something that I had forgotten a long time ago. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready.
All right. Okay, good. So that is that you always have a choice. So when people tell you, oh, I didn't have a choice. Oh, I didn't have a choice. Well, that's not really true. You may not have a choice in that particular area, in that particular situation, in that particular company, but the door is wide open and I could walk out just as easily as they could let me go, and they do, and they have let many employees go since I left, but I could leave. This is at will employment. And when I realized that, because this is a place where this company was my identity. I was in love with this place. I did so much for this company. I mean, it was years, it was 11 years of just pouring my soul into my work and not getting what I was looking for. So that was the moment when we started to entertain options, crazy options. In my case, I was such a loyal employee. But when I realized that this is a time in my life where I could actually change direction, I didn't want to do something like this too late in life. I still wanted to be young and full of energy and create success. So, and I don't believe it can be too late, but it was just a critical time. So my husband and I started having some serious conversations, and I was too terrified to leave. So I started putting some kind of a date out there in the future, maybe. But because I didn't want to do that particular project, because I wanted to stay true to my core values, and because I didn't want to waste my time and my life anymore, we decided to go for it, right? I mean, you have to walk your talk. You just have to walk your talk, especially if you want to help others in the future. And you have to do it from direct experience. So I decided to resign, and that was that. And I have never, to answer your earlier question, ever for a single millisecond looked back at all. And that's shocking.
Well, it's not shocking, is it? It's for the listeners out there who are on the train, they're on the bus, they're at their jobs, trying to sort of kill 8 hours a day. And that's one of the problems that I had. That when I quit my job, I realised that I was justifying my time more than being productive. I'd been doing the job for so long, but I could almost do it at will. And I could do it in very short bursts. And my productivity became kind of less and less and less, to the point when I was thinking, oh, I've got to do this today. Oh, I can do it tomorrow. And it was more sort of going in and having a coffee and walking around, having a chat and all that kind of stuff. And then when I left, this was the weird thing. I was a loyal employee, as you say, and I was one of the first people at this company. When it was a company that had grown very, very small, and then it started expanding, and it was the expanding bit that I was the first person in. So I was like employee 32 or something. And when I left, it was about 280, 300. So it was still sort of a reasonably small company. But I knew the company inside out, and they could ask me pretty much any question about anything, and I would have a good stab at doing an answer. When I walked out the door, I did about 20 yards, and I couldn't remember half the things that I knew. It was really weird. I walked out, and by the time I got onto the train, and I used to do training courses, and the same kind of training courses for 10 years, and they would ask me, could you do that? And I hadn't done it for 2 years, and I could stand up there and just, oh yes, I remember it, and it all floods back to me. And now, if you ask me any question what I was doing, even though it was 6 months ago, I haven't got a clue. I have not got a clue. And so you can create your own life, can't you? You can create your own life, but you do have to take that leap of faith.
Absolutely. And there was logistical preparation behind that too, because I think a leap of faith, as exciting as it sounds, I think practically, we have responsibilities, we have obligations. Like I said, I help people make these very, very difficult exits at different stages in their lives, with family, with bills to pay, with mortgages. And so I think it's important to trust yourself. It's not just a leap of faith into the unknown and hoping that a net will appear. It's about trusting yourself, that if you are a smart individual, which I am sure you are, if you are able to get things done, if you can put two and two together and make a living and take care of yourself, you can thrive on your own if that's what you want to do. It's about trusting yourself. So when you have that trust and you back it up with education and investing in yourself and learning what you're going to do, then you're going to make it work. So there is the logistical preparation, getting your family, your immediate family on board, your life partner, your spouse, whoever shares your life, if that's your situation, and kind of doing all of that and making a very professional exit, right? As much as I wanted to show them, quote unquote, show them, I made a very professional exit, and I have maintained my relationships, and those are the things that are valuable to you. If you spend time in a company, your relationships are valuable, and you never know how you're going to cross path with people later in life. So making a professional exit is important, but you can absolutely make changes, drastic changes in your career, and come out so much more ahead, even if you have to take a few steps back and start over. When you believe in the new path, amazing things happen and amazing opportunities show up.
Well, you linked us in perfectly to the theme of the show. You've been talking about creating a new path, having faith in yourself, trust, everything that I play on a daily basis when I bring Steve Jobs onto the show. And this is a speech that he said back in 2005, and I play every single time. So I'm going to play it now, Farnoosh, and then afterwards I want to ask you really a quick couple of questions about whether it's relevant to you and it is something that you can actually believe in what he's saying. So this is Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
Well, you're a lady that is following her heart. Has it made all the difference?
Yes, I love that speech. 2 pieces. I am so glad you played it again. I cannot listen to it too many times. And yes, absolutely. I think that I just want people to really, really believe in themselves. You know, for me, if somebody else is telling me it's going to be okay, trust yourself, you can do it, which by the way, I didn't hear any of that when I was quitting. It was all, you're crazy, this is not fair, this is not right. But as much as other people can tell you that, until you believe it in yourself and for yourself, it won't happen. So that's really the critical element that made the difference for me. And I think that's very important, that you have to come to that realization for yourself. So
it's true,
yes.
though, isn't it? That, as you were saying, the people that care about you the most, your colleagues, your loved ones, quite often they're the ones that hold you back. And you've got to somehow get them on board, even if they don't really understand. Now, I'm doing this show and we're going live, and we've been going live for about 3 months now, and everything's going great guns. And my family are kind of going, oh, yes, we always knew that it would be a success. I don't think they did, because I didn't know. Didn't know it was going to be a success. And I think at the beginning, when I quit my job, there was very much, what the hell are you doing? You've got children, you've got family, you've got responsibilities. And as much as I said, look, I believe, just let me do it. Let me put the hours in. And that's one of the things that people think, you know. I saw a quote on Facebook the other day, and it said something like, an entrepreneur is somebody that's willing to work 100 hours a week because they won't work 40 hours a week for someone else.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. Yes. And you know what, David? I don't think anybody holds us back except ourselves. But because we put so much faith, so much weight and faith into what other people think, especially our families, which I did. We are so hungry for a word of encouragement, especially at that critical juncture. And if we don't get it, then we are so disheartened. You cannot let that happen to you. That happened to me. And I know that they have come around now because, of course, we've turned things around. We're a success now. But expecting your loved ones to believe in you, I think that's too much expectation, both on yourself and on them. They don't understand what you're doing. They're not expected to understand. They're from a different generation or from a different culture or from a different expectation, from a different mindset. As long as, again, you believe in yourself and you are kind and not antagonistic towards them for not supporting you, but you still continue doing what you're going to do because it's your decision and yours alone, then I think that's all that matters. It's important to get your immediate partner in life on board because it makes things a whole lot easier, but the rest of your family and friends, let them say what they want to say, right? But don't expect them to understand because that's just too much expectation on yourself, on others, and it leads to a lot of disappointment.
When I contacted you originally, I came across you on LinkedIn, as I said in the introduction, and you did a post on LinkedIn. And now, for anyone who isn't on LinkedIn, is a way of building up network and connections with people across the globe. And it used to just be that, but now it's kind of going more sort of Facebooky, I suppose, with posts and articles and different things to make it sort of more interactive. Now, Farnoosh put a post on, and I read it, and it really sort of resonated with me at that time. And I contacted the lady, and in my email I said, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about that. And what it was really is about how a lot of us are in careers that don't fulfill us. And although we're working towards something, when we get to the top of the ladder, we're actually on the wrong ladder. And we're looking over at something else thinking, that's where I should be. That's what I should have done. But it's not too late to change direction. And this is where really prolific living comes in, isn't it? It's being able to give the tools to the people out there to make those changes and create a life that is prolific.
Yes, I hope so anyway. Yes, that's my hope, to inspire and to help them understand just how powerful they are when they decide their own destiny and they decide to take the right steps towards living the life they want to live. And there's a lot of change that has to happen to you internally to come to even be open to something like that, right? If I had heard my own words a few years ago, I would probably not believe any of them and think, oh, you're just a positive person. It's worked out well for you. You were lucky. But none of that is true. I think you first have to be open to a different mindset, be open to possibilities, be open to realizing your dreams. And then you need the tools, the encouragement and the motivation and the inspiration and the guidance. And I provide that to people who are open to receiving it.
Can you make somebody open? Do some people sign up to your courses and then, for example, don't use them? Because that's one of the things that I hear from so many people on the online world. They put their heart and soul. And I think a lot of people out there sort of listening, I think I was in this sort of frame of mind maybe 5 or 6, 7, 10 years ago, where I used to see a product thrown out and I should think, oh, that's too good to be true. That person's only doing that to try and make money out of me. But now, if you're more selective, and certainly from your side, and I can see that shining through today, you're not out there to make money. Well, ultimately you are, but you're out there to provide value first. So does it annoy you when people sign up for your courses and then don't use them?
No, not at all, because I am, and it used to not annoy me so much as it would actually dishearten me and reflect on myself and on my work. And that is a big mistake that, not a mistake, but it's something I didn't know. So when I started to look at the people that I am helping, when I started to see the success stories that came out of my courses and my coaching programs, I realized that the people who were not open to it, either there was something, they had this resistance to learning or to moving in the right direction. And so I would take extra measures. Says like in my Smart Exit Blueprint, I had a couple of people come in and I worked very hard with them because I knew they they don't think this way. This is not a mindset for them. But I could see that if they did, they have so much potential. And a couple of them, I couldn't help them. They were just completely resistant to changing their way of life. They were resigned to the victim mentality. And I felt sorry for them, but it does not reflect on my work because that's not for everyone. So now I have a more structured filtration system, especially if before I take on anyone as a client. And even in the case of my courses, I'm pretty sure who gets in and what their situation is. And I set expectations very clearly. Of course, it doesn't annoy me. My work isn't for everyone. Your podcast isn't for everyone. And there is only so much we can do to open someone's eyes. I mean, I do my blog. I do my I create my message, I put it out there, but we certainly can't change anyone's mind, and that's not the business I'm in anyway. So excuse me, it does not annoy me at all. It just disheartens me because I can see they have potential, and I was in their shoes many years ago, and if somebody had helped me, maybe I would have changed direction sooner. And so that's the only thing that I feel in their situation. But certainly they later on make that change on their own time, right? It may just not be the right time for them.
It's really strange, though. I was talking to a lady called Denise O'Berry on episode 27, and we were talking about she goes into businesses and she helps them when they're failing. And she says, sometimes I have to sack my client because they just will not take my advice, even though they're paying for it. And we had this conversation about the Gordon Ramsay programs when he goes into a failing hotel or a failing restaurant, which is quite obviously going down the toilet, and the owner won't have anything to do with him. And I would, if I was failing and somebody came in who was an expert, I would just go, I'll do anything you tell me to do. I don't care if you want me to serve the food naked. I will do that if it's going to turn round. Yes. I can't imagine serving food naked is a good career choice in a restaurant, really. But yeah, but why do you think so many people become so precious to their commodity, their product, that even if it is quite obviously going the wrong way, they won't either ask for help or listen to advice? Pride.
I think we have too much pride. It's just for the same reason that you know you're wrong, but you would not apologize to your wife or to your friend. It's just we have too much pride.
I don't think
I'm
ever
I
wrong.
know this. You're never exactly.
I'm married. That's the route that I go with.
But no, I think that's that I can relate to that. It's stupid. It's not the right way to succeed. If someone's trying to help you, you should take it. Of course, logically it makes sense, but human beings are not entirely logical. So I think pride gets in the way, admitting that we have made a mistake, that we are responsible for choosing the right path, for staying in a dead-end job, for staying in a bad relationship. It is difficult to admit that. And you don't have to admit it to the whole world. But if you don't accept help, especially help you're paying for, then that's just stupid. But again, I can totally relate to it. It's a lot of pride. And the way to work around it is to really be honest with yourself, to really come clean with yourself. Just you and yourself. You have a relationship with yourself. And that's going to bring you so much peace. And then you can start the building process, the healing process. But I think we have a lot of pride, and I have had to work so hard on my own because I have seen how it has held me back. So now my desire to be successful and happy is so much more than my desire to ever be right. So that is very clear to me. And again, it's still a practice, but it has helped me make so many better choices, and it has helped me. My career, my business has exploded with success because that's the motto. I want to be happy. I want to be successful. I want to help people. I don't have to be right. I can certainly be wrong. I can certainly apologize. I can certainly make mistakes because I'm a human being, and that's okay. And it doesn't bring me shame and guilt and all those ugly feelings that just make life so complicated.
It's brilliant to hear you say that your professional life has exploded because, you know, I'm talking to you at the moment, and I imagine because you're traveling through Europe, you're in a hotel room or somewhere or in a cafe in Germany.
Yes. I am in a hotel room on the 16th floor looking over the Rhine in Germany, yes.
And you used to be in corporate land where you had to get up every morning at the same time and get to the desk at the same time and all that kind of stuff. So you're building a level of success which isn't just supporting you financially, but it's supporting, a dream lifestyle. So many people would like to be sitting in a hotel room with you at the moment, looking over that scene, talking to me on, well, who knows who knows what part of that they're really dreaming about. But it is a dream existence. But as you get bigger and bigger and bigger and more successful, do you have moments where you kind of have those internal dialogues again, those doubts, when somebody comes to you and asks for advice, you kind of think, oh my God, who am I? Who am I to give them advice now? I'm just Farnoosh Brock who's getting out there and making connections and building worth to the world, but this is too big for me. Do you ever have those kind of doubts?
Yes, that's very interesting you say that. Have you been listening to my conversations with my husband? No,
look under the lights. Look under the lights in each hotel room. You'll see a little microphone.
You're funny, David.
You're in Germany. That's what they do in Germany.
Oh, funny. Well, you know what? I don't mind if they eavesdrop. They could learn a thing or two. But no, I definitely have those because more opportunities are coming to us, like another book proposal, talking to a senior vice president at a company that I actually used to know him. But opportunities that I didn't think I would see so early, right? It's just been 3 years since we've started our business, and it's actually going to be 3 years tomorrow. So I think what I do is I look at the proof. Okay, so to me, proof really helps, right? Inspiration is good, having faith is good, but the proof is I have made the exit. I look at the successes. I look at financially supporting myself. I look at building my dreams, publishing my books, creating success for my clients. And I look at everything that has actually happened. And that reminds me that I am capable, that I am smart, that I am doing something worthwhile, that what I have it actually works. And when I have the doubts, I have a support pillar. I talk to my husband, and yes, sometimes I have a lot of doubts, but less and less as I create more and more success, and as I have less and less expectation to the end result. I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be successful, but that big vision of I will be this big figure or successful on this level of scale and kind of seeing that, I'm not so attached to that. I just want to have a great journey and live a rich life every day. But I know that even that will happen. So having a little bit of detachment from the end result actually helps you be more productive, be more brilliant, be more creative, and that creates the result of attracting the whole world to you, and everyone wants to know what's your success. What's your success secret? Because that's what everyone wants, right? You want to be successful, you want to be happy, you want to be healthy, and you want to live life on your own terms. So when we are so attached to the end result and we're desperate and we're in a hurry and we're in a rush, that's not a very attractive figure. I don't want to be that person again, and I'm not attracted to people who are. So it's sort of defining what's important to you and being that person and living your values and doing good work. And it pays off.
Well, it does pay off, doesn't it? And, it's joining up dots is about, I could have called it join up doubts, really, because it's the same kind of thing. Every part of your life, you have moments when you think, is this the right thing to do? Is that not? And in my life, when I quit my corporate job, I worked really hard for 3 years in the evenings and early mornings. I've been going to work so that I could earn an online income that would just pay the bills. So when I quit, I took a hell of a whack on my salary, but I could financially pay the bills, and it gave me time to sort of build this up. But then I worked for real, stupid hours where I was thinking, have I done the right thing here? I used to work long hours before, not productive hours, as I say, but long hours. And now I'm doing 3 times as much. But I thought, no, this is it. I'm preparing for this daily show. We're going to be releasing an episode every single day of inspiring, motivating conversation. I did all that. And then on the day that I had to release, I almost thought, I don't want this. I don't want to push my content out into the world, even though I'd spent hours and months and years building up to that point. And it was really strange that I had that devil and angel on my shoulder, and the devil was going, who's going to listen? This is going to be rubbish. You're going to open yourself to criticism, blah, blah, blah. And the angel was going, no, David, go for it. Just press that button. What's the worst that's going to happen? And I'm having that on a daily basis. As I got through episode 10 and then 20 and then 30 and then the emails started coming in and the feedback kept coming in, I still had that internal dialogue going all the time thinking, oh my God, this is getting bigger than I expected. Am I going to be good enough? Are they going to be listening to me? Oh, what can I do? So how do we overcome that for people out there who's in that same journey?
Yes, that's the fear speaking, your anxieties is speaking. And I used to think that we can just eliminate it, that we can just eradicate it. But now I really believe that that's always going to be there. However, if you continue to take action, in your case, you continue to put out your podcast, you continue to market it, you continue to do the interviews, you continue to take action in that direction, that voice will get lower and move more in the background. So you don't focus so much on, how do I overcome the fear so that I do the dream? You just do the dream despite the fear. And that takes care of it. I think taking action, consistent action, persistently in the direction of your dream is the answer to dealing with all of those voices. And a lot of meditation helps too, if you want to go all that far. And also yoga, if you want to go that far. And even juicing.
Except for the green
really
one.
Just taking action. Especially the green one, David. Especially the green one.
So if we look back on your life, there's got to be a big dot. Everyone has joined up the dots with me and they can say, yes, I've got there because of this and this and this. What was your big dot? Can you remember the one where you looked at, and it might have been that time when you was at work and you had that moral conflict. It might have been something else. But was there one that you went, yes, if I hadn't have stepped on that dot, I wouldn't be here now?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's called Blog World October 2010 in Las Vegas. That was definitely my turning point. And that was an amazing event. It was the best event they ever put out. I met amazing people that I'm still friends with. And it was when I realized I could do this. This could actually someday work. The what if questions started happening then. It was probably Darren Rouse who gave his speech, maybe copy blogger Brian Clark. They were all up there. And it wasn't just that. I think it all came to this culmination point when Darren spoke. But I had never thought of myself. I'd never actually held up the mirror and said, maybe I can be an entrepreneur. Never. And so that's where the seed got planted. And it was beautiful. I'm very glad I went because I'm sure eventually I would have done something. But that was such a great turning point. And then I resigned May 2011. So just less than 6 months later. So that was it.
And when you went in there, because I had Rick Calver on the show on episode 20, who is kind of the head of New Media Expo and Blog World as it used to be. Yes, I'm aware. And I was terrified to interview him because I kind of felt like, I'm going into this world. And in the United Kingdom, there's not a lot of podcasters. I haven't met one. So everything that I've been focusing in is on a kind of like a dream line where people are talking about Las Vegas and San Diego and Boulder, Colorado and all these places. But once I got to Rick, I thought, this is the moment. He is the godfather. He's going to pull my plug out and I'm never going to say another word again, and I'll just be speaking into a turned off mic and I'll never realise. And he was so supportive and so encouraging, which made me go, right, okay, episode 21, let's go, episode 22. And when you went to Blog World, did you kind of feel the same thing, that although you hadn't met these people, you'd suddenly found a connection that you didn't have in your own corporate land?
Yes, and I met Rick right there and have met him several times. He's a great guy, as is most people I've met, almost all. And I would say, yes, I felt like coming home. It felt like this is it. I'm here. I'm in a place where people are doing things they love doing. Wow, imagine that. When was the last time I felt that in a corporate hallway, right? So I felt very much at home, and I felt also what you're saying in that I was putting some people on pedestal, and that's not fair to them or to you because they are just people. Sure, you want to be respectful of their time. They are busy. You want to be polite and be kind and all of that, but you don't want to make them bigger, like bigger than life, because they're just people. I mean, we met Darren Rouse. He was extremely busy. He was on his way to catch a flight. He had boxes, and he dropped them, and he took a few minutes to talk to us and take pictures. And I always remember that. It took 2 minutes out of his time, maybe less, but I remember that he was extremely humble, and that is the experience. So if you haven't experienced that and you're just watching people online, you may feel that way about them, but I think going to one of these conferences will really show you their real personality. And maybe a couple of people will disappoint you. Okay, so what? The rest of them are going to be generous with their time. They're going to be just people. They're just people. They just happen to have different success levels in different areas, but a lot of people in this online media world are amazing, just amazing. That's one of the reasons I wanted to be a part of it, the people.
They're on a different timeline. It's as simple as that, isn't it? It's just the fact that, you know, if you listen to the greatest podcasters out there with the biggest audience and you go back to episode 1, they were novices as well, but they've just progressed and they've improved and they've practiced and they've got better and better and better. They're just on a different timeline.
Yes, different timeline.
Right, talking about timelines, this is the end of the show. This is the bit, Farnoosh, where I call it a sermon on the mic, and this is when I send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And you can choose any age of Farnoosh you want. It can be 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 20-year-old. It could be a couple of days ago, whatever you wanted to do. But once the music changes and it fades out, I'm going to just sit back and listen as we put you on the mic. And Farnoosh Brock, this is the Sermon on the Mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the Sermon on the Mic, the Sermon on the Mic.
All right, the Sermon on the Mic, where I give my younger self a sermon. Well, I'm going to choose to talk to my 15-year-old self. So, Farnoosh, darling, you have just arrived in America, and it looks like a wonderful place. But I just want you to know that you're going to make friends. Your life is going to be great. You're going to have a great husband. You are going to get over all the awkwardness, and you're going to be proud of your heritage one day. And you don't have to lie to people that you're from Turkey when you're really from Iran. And I think you should really starting a diary, because I'd like to remember these memories when I'm older, okay? And listen to your parents, but don't worry about what they think, and just don't worry so much. Everything is going to work out okay. Don't worry so much about your grades. Make time to play and study a little less. And I would say the last thing I want you to know is that every decision that you make, as long as it feels good to you, as long as you are true to what it feels for you, and as long as you are respectful of other people's opinion, even if they don't agree with you, everything is going to work out okay. And don't forget that whatever happens, you have your parents. They love you, even if they never agree with you on the big subjects. And you're never really as alone as you sometimes feel. And I believe in you, and the future is just beautiful. That's all I got, David.
I love that. And I'll be honest, I love you, Farnoosh. I knew I was going to like you. You've got one of those pictures, and it's a picture that I see all over the internet. And it is funny, once you get into this online world, the same images keep on appearing because you're out there, aren't you? You're on Pinterest, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, you're all over the shop. And I just knew that you was going to be open, generous, and really sort of talkative, but have an interesting story. And I think you have. And the beauty about this show is it's not just the story of where you are now. Join Up Dots is about going into the future as well. And I'm sure in sort of 5 years, 2 years, whatever, you'll come back on this show. I'd love you to come back on this show and share your journey from now up to that next point. And I'm sure there's going to be the same doubts, there's going to be the same fears, there's going to be the same anguish, successes, failures that has made your first few years so memorable. So Farnoosh Bot, thank you so much for being on the show, because by taking time to join up the dots, I believe that we had the best opportunity to build our future just by looking back and connecting for a while. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, David. I just want to say that I think I've been now on probably 100 interviews, shows, and this was a very, very special one. So you've done a fantastic job. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And just before, I was getting so into the I love Farnoosh thing. How do people connect with you?
And they can find me at prolificliving.com. That's my home online. I have Prolific Living on Twitter, on Facebook, on Pinterest, like you said. And that's the best way to connect with me. I have a free confidence course they can grab. They can read my blog and just hook up with me and say how they found me. So prolificliving.com. Thank you so much, David.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for taking the time.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.